Who is Chris Hansen? The real story behind Primetime warning trailer and true story disclaimer. Before we begin, this video discusses the real-life journalist Chris Hansen, whose career inspired a 24's upcoming film, Primetime, starring Robert Pattinson. While the movie draws from real events, it is a dramatized story, not a documentary. Some characters, conversations, and situations may be fictionalized for storytelling. With that said, let's get started. When the trailer for Primetime was released, one question immediately started trending online. Who is Chris Hansen? For younger audiences, he may simply seem like the journalist Robert Pattinson is playing. But for millions of Americans, Chris Hansen became one of the most recognizable faces on television. His investigations shocked the nation. His interviews became internet legends, and one simple sentence, "Why don't you have a seat?" entered pop culture forever. But Chris Hansen's story is much bigger than a single TV show. It's about investigative journalism, television, justice, and one of the most controversial programs ever broadcast. So, who is Chris Hansen? Let's break it all down. How Chris Hansen became a journalist. Chris Hansen didn't begin his career expecting to become a television icon. Like many reporters, he started in local journalism. He worked as a television reporter covering crime, public affairs, and investigative stories. Over the years, he built a reputation for asking difficult questions. Rather than chasing celebrity interviews, he focused on stories involving public safety and accountability. His calm personality, professionalism, and willingness to investigate complicated issues eventually led him to NBC News. There, his career changed forever. Dateline NBC changed everything. At NBC, Chris Hansen became one of the lead investigative correspondents for Dateline NBC. The program specialized in in-depth reporting, consumer investigations, hidden camera operations, and major national stories. Unlike traditional evening news, Dateline often spent months investigating a single topic. That style of journalism perfectly matched Hansen's strengths. He wasn't loud, he wasn't theatrical, he simply let facts and questions do the work. Then, in the early 2000s, NBC launched one of the most controversial investigations in television history, the rise of To Catch a Predator. The investigation became known as To Catch a Predator. The concept was simple, but incredibly controversial. Working alongside law enforcement and online watchdog groups, investigators posed as underage children in internet chat rooms. Adults who believed they were arranging meetings with minors were invited to specially prepared homes. When they arrived, they were greeted by Chris Hansen. Instead of immediately confronting them with accusations, Hansen calmly asked questions. Why were they there? Who did they think they were meeting? What were their intentions? The conversations quickly became some of the most unforgettable moments in television. Millions of viewers watched every episode. Why Chris Hansen became so famous? There were many investigative journalists before Chris Hansen. So why did he become such a cultural phenomenon? The answer was his approach. He never needed to shout. He didn't insult people. He rarely raised his voice. Instead, he remained calm. The silence often made the interviews even more uncomfortable. His famous phrase, "Why don't you have a seat?" became instantly recognizable. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't threatening, but viewers knew exactly what it meant. Within seconds, the interview had begun, and there was usually no easy way out. The show was both praised and criticized. Although To Catch a Predator became hugely successful, it also sparked serious debate. Supporters argued that the investigations exposed dangerous criminals and raised awareness about online child safety. Many believed the program helped educate parents and protect children. Others, however, questioned the ethics of turning criminal investigations into television entertainment. Critics asked difficult questions. Did hidden cameras influence the investigations? Could public humiliation interfere with justice? Was television becoming more interested in ratings than reporting? These debates continue even today, and they're exactly the kinds of questions Primetime appears ready to explore. The lasting impact on television. Whether people loved the show or criticized it, almost everyone agrees on one thing: it changed television. After To Catch a Predator, networks increasingly combined journalism with entertainment. Reality crime programming expanded rapidly. True crime documentaries became mainstream. Hidden camera investigations became more common. Many modern crime series owe something to the success of Chris Hansen's work. His investigations helped shape an entire era of television. Life after To Catch a Predator. Although the original NBC series eventually ended, Chris Hansen never stopped working. He continued reporting on crime, public safety, and investigative journalism. Over the years, he launched new investigative projects, hosted online series, and remained active in discussions about internet safety. Even decades later, his name is still closely associated with one of television's most recognizable investigative formats. That's one reason Primetime feels so relevant today. Many younger viewers know the memes, but not the man behind them. Why Robert Pattinson is playing Chris Hansen. When Robert Pattinson accepted the role, many people were surprised. But the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Chris Hansen isn't an action hero. He's a complicated public figure, someone admired by many, questioned by others, and placed at the center of difficult ethical debates. Those are exactly the kinds of layered characters Pattinson enjoys playing. Rather than creating a simple biopic, the film appears interested in exploring the emotional pressure of becoming the face of one of America's most controversial television program. That's far more interesting than simply recreating famous interviews. The real meaning behind Primetime. At first glance, Primetime appears to be about Chris Hansen, but beneath the surface, it's really asking bigger questions. What happens when journalism becomes entertainment? Can television both inform and entertain without compromising either goal? How much responsibility does one journalist carry when millions of viewers are watching? Those questions remain just as important today as they were 20 years ago. That's why Chris Hansen's story still matters. Not because of one television show, but because it changed how audiences viewed investigative reporting forever. Could Primetime change how people see Chris Hansen? For older audiences, Chris Hansen is already a television legend. For younger viewers, Primetime may become their introduction to his story. Rather than focusing only on internet memes or famous catchphrases, the film has the opportunity to present Chris Hansen as a journalist navigating one of the most unusual moments in television history. It could explore the pressure, the criticism, the responsibility, and the human side of someone who spent years asking difficult questions in front of millions of viewers. That perspective alone makes Primetime one of the year's most fascinating upcoming films. Final thoughts. So, who is Chris Hansen? He's an investigative journalist whose work on Dateline NBC and To Catch a Predator changed television history. His calm interviewing style, his commitment to investigative reporting, and his unforgettable on-screen presence made him one of the most recognizable journalists of the early 2000s. But his legacy is also more complicated than many people realize. His work sparked important conversations about journalism, justice, privacy, and the fine line between public service and public spectacle. That's exactly why Primetime isn't simply telling Chris Hansen's story. It's exploring the moment television itself changed forever. And with Robert Pattinson stepping into one of his most transformative roles yet, the film could become one of A24's most talked about dramas. So, what do you think? Will Primetime introduce a whole new generation to Chris Hansen's story? Or will it spark fresh debate about one of television's most controversial investigative programs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more movie explained videos, true story breakdowns, hidden details, and trailer analyses.